Oh, the technical difficulties of our Wi-Fi, but in a different location now, so I'm going to quickly go through and finish. Let's see here. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, I had some other points and things that I'll probably do another stream next week. I think there's some. Okay. You just wait for a minute. Hey, if you have any other questions, put them in the chat. Apologies about that. I don't know why the stream froze and I couldn't seem to get it back working again. So just reading through some of the old comments. Yeah, I was frozen in time before. It'd be nice to be frozen in time. Anyway, let's see what else we have here to go through before I wrap this up. I read an article about RateSetter on Sky's website saying they were looking for a possible buyer or to consolidate with other companies. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean they're looking to sell their company, but sometimes they may be looking to blend with another company if they see things are going to be obviously difficult with the loan business over the next few months. They may try to merge or to look for those possibilities. So I didn't see that was particularly unusual. I don't know if you own any Funding Circle shares. You have seen how ridiculous those shares have been volatility wise. They went from 55p a couple of days ago, and now I think they went up 30% today. But Funding Circle has frozen their secondary market. So what that means, if you're in queue to sell, you're going to be out the queue now. So I'm sure that's frustrating as a Funding Circle investor, but they say the investors will get 3 to 5% of capital and interest back each month if the loans are in good standing. So you know what that means. If you had £1,000 investment, you could expect to get 3 to 5% of that back each month if you just let your portfolio sort of run out. What I think is happening, though, is not all of the loans are in good standing. So that number, I would imagine, will be less for most people than 3 to 5%. So let's see what else. Yeah, LendingWorks has frozen new signups, new investments. They're not taking any loans for the next 90 days. I had written on a review about the provision fund being low for them, and I was a little annoyed about it, but then I started to receive more information from the powers that be about how that fund was being handled. And what they're doing is they're using the money as an allocation rather than having it sitting in a cash account doing nothing. So what it means is they're earmarking money from future loan payments that will be used towards the Shield Fund, which actually is a lot more sensible than having money set around doing nothing. As long as they operate the fund correctly and are transparent about, siphoning off money from future payments when it's needed, I think that's sort of an effective way to do it. It doesn't necessarily make you feel particularly comfortable if you're an investor and you look at their shield fund balance, being £75,000 on this rather large loan book. But the way that they're using the shield fund now is actually makes sense to use that money, that liquidity that's coming in, to bolster investors' interest returns. So if they're siphoning off a lot of money into the shield fund, what it means is that you'll see the returns probably start to fall as a lender. So they're earmarking up to, I think, £5.7 million of future payments that will go towards making that shield fund robust, but you won't necessarily see that reflected inside an actual cash balance. I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about that. I think Lending Works will do the right thing when it comes to their fund, and if they do, not too concerned about the £75,000 cash balance. So I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with them. Now I really truly understand how the shield fund works. Because before I was thinking, well, 75 grand, why is that fund not increasing? And that's the reason why, because they're not increasing it on purpose. Let's see, LendInvest is still writing new business. They are one of the companies that's actually continuing to write new loans. LendInvest, I think, is a good solid place to invest, and they have £2 billion of capital lending base behind them. So they have a very good pool of capital that they can lend to new businesses and to new property loans. I've been actually pleased with Unbolted. They've been really updating their statistics on their defaults, and I think Unbolted could be a really good source of peer-to-peer lending during these times right now. People need access to quick cash, and it's very easy to go to pawn some gold or a jewelry or a diamond ring if you need quick access to money, which is the basis of Unbolted's lending business, right? It's a pawn style lending business, and they've actually had very good default recoveries. They've ended up being able to recover more in gold than their actual loan amounts were. They've had a total recovery rate of 121%. So that what that means is every pound that was defaulted, they've been able to recover on £1, 21 pence in defaulted cash, which is great. I mean, if every peer-to-peer company had those type of recovery results, I think they'd be more than happy. So the breakdown is, out of their gold default stats, they've had £270,000 in defaults, and they've recovered £307,000 in gold loan defaults. Non-gold, £603,000 in defaults and £745,000 of recovered rates. So they've also had an interest and principal shortfall of 19 grand, which the company has covered. So no investors lost money. It's a small business. They don't have this long operating history, but they also don't have the high expenses that some of these other peer-to-peer companies have. So I don't think that would be a bad place for you to look now in these difficult economic times. So that would be Unbolted. If you have money in Growth Street, they have an update page. I'll put it in the chat here. You can read what's the latest update on Growth Street. And Lendy, the whole administration thing is just annoying. I mean, as an investor, I'm part of the Lendy Action Group. It really just shows the worst part of, the reason why I keep saying you don't want a peer-to-peer lending company to go into administration. Lendy is the epitome of a horrible administration situation. It's going to be years before that thing is wrapped up. It's such a mess, and it's not necessarily the administrator's fault. They're just doing what they can. They've got all these loans in different locations through different lenders, different borrowers. and dealing with what they're dealing with is a mess. It's a big problem. Property recoveries take a long time, and what happens too in some cases when a borrower is being difficult, they can create all kinds of delays with the administration process through court extensions, not showing up for court. And I think you're going to have some of that in the administration process. What really is the worst thing about the Lendy administration process, aside of the horrible valuation, that are coming in on the properties that are worth far less than what was loaned out. But the worst part is the fees. I mean, RSM is the company that does the administration for Lendy, and they're saying that they will be looking at £2.5 million in fees. I mean, they've racked 1.7 million in fees in 5 months, which is just blowing my mind. I mean, I just can't get my head around why, some kind of a fee was not negotiated in the wind-up administration agreement before Lendy went out of business. I mean, there should have been a capped fee and some kind of a performance split, meaning that you have one fee that's set at a certain reasonable amount, and then if any of the loans are recovered, the administrator gets a portion of those loans. But it wasn't done that way. And what's basically happening is you've got these administrators that are charging, one of the high ups is making £500 an hour, and then he's got 3 people working under him making £200 an hour and £100 an hour. And ultimately, the investors are paying the price for this. And, it really sickens me. And I think you're going to see some legal action with the Lendy administration. I would certainly want that to happen, especially with the waterfall. The way that Lendy is supposed to get paid on every loan, I think, is ridiculous. It's absolutely criminal. Also, I had an email about Lendy. Somebody asked me about the tax relief on defaulted loans, saying that some of the loans that they hadn't been listed as being in default, so they couldn't claim it back on their tax returns. I'm definitely no accountant. From what I understand about debt relief on peer-to-peer is that the loan, it should be completely completed before it's put on the tax return as a loss. I don't think the tax revenue is happy about somebody saying, well, I'm taking £1,000 loss on a loan, but the loan hasn't been through the administration process yet. So technically the loan really hasn't defaulted, even though, because it's not complete. So how can you put that as a tax loss? You can't really. I mean, you could, but I think you'd have, if you got audited, there'd be some questions about, was that done correctly? And the problem with Lendy's loans is that they're property loans, and some of them are going to take a long time to get to the point where RSM says you've lost 70% of your capital. It's over and done with. The property's sold. There's nothing more we can do. There's no more money to be recovered. So here's your 70% capital loss. Then you could claim that back on your taxes. Again, this is just my understanding of how the peer-to-peer tax would work. So any peer-to-peer lending loan that's tied to property through Lendy is probably going to be a while before you could use that as some kind of a tax relief, unfortunately. Collateral is another company that's in administration that I have some money in, and they were supposed to have a meeting on March 31st. There was supposed to be a meeting of the administrator and also the lending credit committee that's made up of people that are designed to represent investors. And now that meeting has been postponed indefinitely from March 31st. There's a possibility there may be a video meeting. What I do like about that situation, I've had absolutely no updates on the collateral situation at all, which I think is weird. But thankfully we have some really smart people on the credit committee, including Steve Finley, who was the owner of Bond Mason. And it's just, again, it's one of these really good examples of what risks you do face if a peer-to-peer lending company does go into administration. This is really new territory, and it's why it's important to really find the companies that are reputable and that have less chance of going into administration. One of the peer-to-peer lending company heads that I'm pretty close with said to me, every single peer-to-peer company has a chance to go into administration. And he said, including my own, including the one that he runs. Not to say that they all will, but there's always a chance. You need to understand that. You need to understand that if something goes into administration, that there's a good chance that you're going to take some capital losses. So make sure that, again, you have diversification. And yeah, make sure that you are diversified. So let me see if there's anything else. If you can give me a thumbs up on the stream, I would appreciate it. I know this is the second stream. Again, apologies about the little technical issue, but things happen. Hopefully you can hear me okay, because I don't know. But that's really about it. If you have any other questions or comments, just leave them down below. I will get them back to you. I'll respond to them, and visit the website, sign up for the email list. That is on the Financial Thing website, so you can get notified when I'm doing these streams. I'm going to try to do them every Thursday. Hopefully the internet will not crap out on me again. But yeah, that's really it. And I don't think there's anything else on my list to cover. I think patience is just going to be key right now. Just be patient. I think everything will be fine in the peer-to-peer lending sector. And, there will be some casualties, I'm sure, of loans of borrowers unable to pay, but just hang in there and be patient, and most of it will be healthy, and stay safe. And I will see you next week. Take care.